Well, I think it's time now to start. So, welcome to all of you. I'm Arnaud Cruzet. I'm Vice President Consulting for Fime. And we will have a very interesting session regarding nexo standards today during 1 hour. At the end, you will have the opportunity to ask all your questions as you want. So we will keep some few time for you and to exchange between you and us regarding nexo and questions. And so we will use a Slido for that. So it's very convenient. You can go directly on the Slido website, slido.com. It could be also through your mobile phone, and you can just enter the nexo code to enter to that session for the question and response that we will have at the end. Few words regarding Fime itself. So Fime is a principal member of Nexo, and we participate to different working groups and working on different specifications and the future and the evolutions of Nexo. So we are board of directors, member of the board of directors of the organization. Fime is a global leader in payment consulting and secure transaction testing. So we are present all over the world, and the objective is really to be close to our customers, so to speak your language where you can be. So we are present in several countries, and we also have different labs in the different parts of the world. We enable our customer to bring user-friendly and secure solution to payments and transport markets. So we are working on payments and transport as a trust advisors. And we do that by combining our expertise with disruptive testing. So what it means is that we use our technical knowledge to help all our customers for the whole chain of their project, from the very beginning through the define of what is needed through consulting and strategic consulting. We help to design the solution through technical advices. We help our customer to deliver the solutions in the implementations and with ad hoc test plan and test tools. And at the end, we help our customers in the compliance and quality assurance. We are working with all actors in the payment chain and in the transport, payment scheme, financial institutions, merchants, vendors, and transports, working on different types of subjects, of course, EMVs, 3DS, Android, HTA, SCA, biometric, NFC, and of course, Nexo, which is the purpose of that webinar today. So for that, I have the pleasure to welcome Claude Brun, which is chairman of Nexo Standards, Nadine Kanan, which is senior consultant and Nexo SME, smart subject matter experts, and Sylvain Fromager, which is project manager. So my first question will be to you, Claude. First of all, thank you very much to be with us today for that very interesting webinar on Nexo Standards. And if you can help us to better understand first what is Nexo, who is Nexo, and what is the purpose of Nexo Standards. Claude?
Okay, thank you, Arnaud. It's a pleasure to be with all of you, I would say. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to Fime for giving me the opportunity to present Nexo Standards. Our first, as it's written, Nexo is an international effort to create a standardized, harmonized global payments acceptance ecosystem by embodying the efficiency and interoperability potential of ISO. So Nexo defines a portfolio of specifications on messaging protocols that standardize the exchange of acceptance data for all payment stakeholders and offer a universally beneficial way to apply ISO 2022. We decided to go ahead with ISO 20022 because it's becoming de facto across global financial services and aims to deliver consistency on best practices for digital transformations projects. So it aims, ISO 20022, to promote consistent and collaborative information exchange, reduce cost, greater agility and faster speed to market, harmonized implementations for enhanced resilience and security, best practices, benefits for new entrants, adopters, with a standard implementation by baseline. The next one, please. The next slide, I don't have the control. So, thank you. As I said, Nexo is a collaborative ecosystem with, I would say, different segments of the market. On one side, we have Nexo acceptors, Nexo processors, Nexo vendors, Nexo payment service providers, Nexo schemes. We don't see on the slide the end users, but a customer is a customer somewhere of different activities and I would say, the different stakeholders, members of Nexo. So this ecosystem develops specifications for POI on payment terminals, Nexo Fast. And I am not talking only about physical terminals, because more and more payment solutions are in the cloud. We develop user guide for Nexo Acquire, Nexo Retailer, ATM, Nexo TMS, Terminal Management Services, and specifications. ISO based on ISO 20022 card payment exchange protocols for the time being, and implementation specifications, test cases, test tools. So to achieve true harmonization and promote the successful, sustainable evolution of any market, collaboration is really key. The needs of each need to be heard and addressed, and the contributions of each are essential to ensuring any standards effort is successful. And I would say that Nexo is answering to it. Okay, next one, please. A short illustration. We used to say Nexo standard is meeting the 4 Cs. So a globally harmonized standard-based approach can help directly tackle the goals set as an example by India's Federal Bank, what is called the 4 Cs competition, cost, convenience, confidence. Competition. Standards level the playing field, enabling vendors to compete on an even playing field. This, in turn, encourages competition based on innovation as the risk of vendor lock-in is removed. Cost. On a standards-based platform, all players across the ecosystem can realize time and cost efficiencies with simplified rollout and maintenance. Plus, banks are empowered to strike bigger volume-based deals, but it also seems the same for the rest of the Nexo members. Convenience. Consumers can pay more freely, both at home and abroad. It would also enable banks to allow customers to more easily operate internationally. The acceptance of new form factors is dramatically simplified. Vendors can sell with equal ease at home and abroad with the development of universal/global offerings. Confidence. With everyone speaking the same language, Each stakeholder can feel confident of the interoperability, security and quality of partners. Moreover, it can serve as an additional selling point for vendors. Okay, next please. So Nexo, its value proposition. We're talking about cross-border acceptance. So this cross-border acceptance with Nexo allows a multinational infrastructure acceptance of cross-border payment, fully interoperable. So interoperability is one of the key words. With an easy expansion, international growth and new operations in new territories without being hampered by the complexity of accepting payments. Simple and fast integration may be the most interesting thing today. Facilitate quick, easy and borderless integration with other payment stakeholders, reducing time to market and increasing trust in new partnership. And trust, it's another key word. Interoperability and harmonization allows a true plug-and-play approach to accepting payments. All system speaks the same interoperability language. We have a coherent customer user experience, provides a consistent user experience in the interaction between multiple payment types, providing customer with a fast and familiar payment service. That's quite important for the end users. Acceleration of the deployment of innovation enables easy integration of new and innovative products and services, reducing time to market, integration and deployment costs. So reducing time to market, I think it's another key approach in a more and more competitive world.
Indeed.
Okay. Nexo in a nutshell. Nexo now is structured and organized. And more than that, the General Assembly put in place last year, after 18 months of discussions, a strong intellectual property rights policy following an ISO approach. So Nexo has today 88 members. 32 are principal members having the voting rights. And the others, we have 3 or 4 or 6, I don't remember exactly because it's moving. We have a second category associate and the last one observer. We have a General Assembly, chairman of the General Assembly. We have a board of directors, 25 members, 5 per sectors, per category, as I said. We have a general secretary, Monsieur Jacques Souzana, and we have now a new treasurer, and some of you know him very well from Italy, from SIA. It's Monsieur Joliveau, Jean-Philippe Joliveau. So through the board, we have an operational committee. We have the marketing and communication committee, the strategy committee, and the committee de liaison with ISO, CFCF, EMV, and now we are putting in place a committee with IFS, the petrol companies. Normand Provost is a PMO, Project Manager Officer, and serves also for the Marcom. We have a strong technical group, and we have a technical steering committee, I would say, with co-chaired by Dolores Milram and Robert Reyes. And we have the technical working groups. You see NIS, Nexo Implementation Specifications, Nexo Fast, Payment Application Specifications, Nexo Acquire, the Acquire Protocol, Nexo Retailer. That's another important part of Nexo, more and more used by a lot of companies today. I'm talking about Nexo Retailer. the Nexo Terminal Management System Protocol, Nexo Security, Nexo ATM, Nexo User Stories to build the use cases and the test cases, and the Nexo Mobile Acceptance, the last one working group we have put in place. And responding to the needs of the market and the recommendation from the strategy working group, we have some task forces. We want to harmonize, or we try to harmonize omni-channel on mobile payments. We focus only on them commerce, and we have 3 dedicated task forces for that. And now the last one, transit open payment. And we need permanently the contributions from our members. Don't forget, please, we are an association, and it's quite important for us to have the contribution from the members because they know their markets. Okay? More than 2 years ago, the board decided to ease Nexo implementations. After a request for processing, we choose FIS as partner for developing validation tools for Nexo Acquire Protocol and the Nexo POI specifications. I am proud to announce that today it's done. The tools are available thanks to FIS, Nexo, and above all, to the early implementers, early adopters. And you see on the slide, thanks to for the Acquire V6, Crédit Agricole and Crédit Mutuel, and for Nexo Fast, we used to say Nexo implementation NIS version 4, thanks to First Data, NovelPay, and Crédit Mutuel. You see the simulators, in fact, the tools here. And I don't want to continue a lot on that because I think
this is a great news because we were expecting to have the tools since months.
Ouais. They are working today, they are used on the FIS, the selling licenses. Okay? What's important, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the certification process on the, I think Sylvain or Nadine, I don't remember, sorry for that, will present a slide. But what's important, the common functional certification framework between the consortium between Carte Bancaire and Girocard decided last week to rely completely on the new version 4.0 of Nexo IS and the new test tools validated under CFCF rules in May 2020. So now we have stable tools and stable versions for Nexo IS, and therefore certifications of products using all the Nexo versions or Delta certifications for products having implemented all the Nexo versions were not allowed anymore. And I think it's a big step for Nexo.
Yeah.
And very important.
Indeed, a lot of actors were expecting to have the officialization of these tools. And now we can see that we are receiving more and more requests for a new type of certification with latest version 4.0 and also some previous version already implemented that now they will have to switch to version 4.0. So we can see that the market we're really expecting to have that these tools fully certified and approved. That's great.
Okay. That's, I think, very important for Europe because CFCF is for Carte Bancaire and Girocard today. But Nexo is really global. You can see the countries and companies, the headquarters of the companies having answered to a survey that we have here the official answers. But nevertheless, we know through the different downloads we have on our web servers, more than 600 from the beginning of this year, that we are interesting more and more people, the last one being a big global vendor. And it's quite challenging for us. So as you can see, Nexo now is expanding. We are trying to answer better to the needs of the market with the help of our members. And thanks now for your patience and have a good webinar. I will be ready to answer to your questions after the meeting.
Thank you very much, Claude. And indeed, that last slide regarding the Nexo world map and where we see some Nexo standard activities, it's also very interesting because we can have that type of, usually it says that Nexo is maybe too European or too domestic, but in fact it's not true. It's clearly now international. We clearly see that it is becoming international, and this is very important. And we have requests coming from everywhere over the world. So Nexo now is becoming more and more requested and important. And I think, Claude, that you have also that feedback on your side regarding the different requests that you have as a Nexo standard organization, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good. So thank you, Claude. So now we will try to go a bit more in details, and for that I will ask to Nadine to help us to better understand the specifications and exactly and clearly how it works, what is clearly Nexo and the different part of Nexo. Nadine?
Yes, hello everyone and welcome. I'm happy to see that some of people that I used to work with in Nexo groups are participating to our webinar. So I'm happy to see them again. I have the responsibility and the challenge to present you Nexo specification in a few minutes. So I'll try to do it. So Nexo specifications. Nexo specifications cover the scope of the acceptance acquiring domain. So we have Nexo Fast application, which describes the financial app on a terminal. It supports a uniform look and feel of transactions from cardholder perspective, and it enables an open market for EMV-based components, and it serves as a basis for a one-stop shopping for terminal testing and mutual recognition of type approval. So NexoFast describes the interfaces between the POI and the external world or the entities connected to the terminal. What is important to highlight that we have one application dealing with all technologies, contactless, magstripe, and for attended, unattended, etc.
Indeed, that's also something very important and interesting because it's only one application that fits all somewhere. Where usually we used to have different type of applications for contact or for contactless or for different kernels and schemes. Here it's only one application for contact and contactless and for supporting the different kernels. So this is exactly quite innovative in that payment world, in fact.
Exactly. So then we have three protocols connecting the terminal with the different entities that the POI needs to deal with. We have Nexo Retailer Protocol, which connects the POI to the sales system. So this protocol defines three sets of messages. We have the financial messages, the administrative ones, and the device messages. Nexo Acquirer Protocol is the protocol used to connect the POI to the acquirer. So it defines a set of messages needed to cover all the functions the functions needed, in fact, to acquire transactions for different services, for different environment, etc., like authorization, data capture, reconciliation, and cancellation, and so on. And we have the Nexo TMS protocol is the protocol used to connect the POI to its terminal management system. And here we have a set of messages defined like status report management, accepted configuration update, management plan, and delegation management. So what is important to emphasize that all these specifications rely on a well-known international standards like EMV and ISO 20022. So, and then don't forget that we have the Nexo ATM protocol, which covers the ATM environment. So could we go to the next slide, please? So all these specifications covered many services and features. So we have payment, cancellation refund for both. In fact, cancellation refund only for attended POI. But what I would like to say that these services are enabled for attended and unattended POI. And we have services for example, hotels and car rental, like the pre-authorization. We have the deferred payment for petrol pumps, etc. And we have many services, and we have some services are the work on some other services is ongoing. So technologies, we have all the well-known technologies, so contactless, Magstripe, E&M Commerce, Moto, etc. And some of them, like QR code, are ongoing. The work on them is ongoing. The cardholder verification, we have all the EMV defined methods are supported. And we have also for transaction acquisition, the most important point to say is that the multi-acquiring feature is enabled. So a retailer, for example, could deal with many multi-acquirer. And we have the possibility for the acquirer to choose between single messaging or dual messaging. And all this is done or is enabled through configuration. So Nexo is very flexible thanks to the configuration, because we have different level of configuration. We have the configuration of the POI application. We have the configuration of the protocol. We have keys download. So it's a very powerful, because we have this possibility of different level of configuration. Next slide.
That's also something very important, interesting, because Nexo has been thought from the beginning to reply to the different needs of the market internationally. So all participants and all members from on Nexo, they work on being sure that Nexo fits the different requirements in each country. So it's why Nexo is so powerful and so rich in terms of functionalities and flexibilities. Yeah.
Okay, so to sum up, I would like to go back to what Claude has said about Nexo value proposition. So as you could see, Nexo allows payment stakeholders to move up from a fragmented ecosystem to a centralized ecosystem. For example, big retailer having many stores in many countries and dealing with many acquirers. When they have a centralized ecosystem, you could imagine the benefits for them, because it's reduce this kind of centralized system reduces the cost, the maintenance, and so on. So yeah, I think it's all for me. Thank you, and don't hesitate to ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadine. So I think it was very interesting to better understand what is Nexo, how it works more clearly in terms of different functionalities and way to work. But saying all that, so it was a bit more technical aspect, saying that, what could be a typical organization or typical project. And for that, I will ask to you, Sylvain, that you well know the different projects around Nexo and all the different questions from customers. So based on your way to work and how you were working with the different customers, so you have done a typical Nexo project implementation flows. So Sylvain, can you explain a bit more what is it and what is a typical project organization?
Yeah, thank you for raising the question, Arnaud. So to start, thank you to all to be here. A typical Nexo project is not so different than any project. As presented at the beginning of this webinar, a typical Nexo project will go through the different phases from the defined phase. Where we will have to define the project until the validate phase to validate the project implementation. So let's have a look into those different stages. Starting with the define phase. On the define phase, this phase will allow to really define the needs for the Nexo solution, to define the business requirements, the reason why we have to implement some Nexo technology, and to define the roadmap with those different Nexo technologies. Because as presented by Nadine just before, Nexo is providing several protocol or specification, but customer, anyone who wants to develop a Nexo compliant solution could only select part of this technology based on his needs, based on his roadmap. And on this first phase, this first phase is really important to select the protocol or specification from Nexo according to the need of the customer. So this is the aim of this define stage, to define the business requirement in order to scope the project, to define different phases of the project. And at this stage, it's also the good timing to provide some training to the teams on Nexo. Then we are going through the design stage, where from this business requirement, we will define the technical requirement to either to build some detailed specification for a project that will have to be developed in-house, for example, or to build the solution architecture in case of a solution consolidating several technology from different providers. Then we'll go through the deliver phase with the development or the integration of the project, and to finish with the validation phase, where through test and certification will provide a good quality assurance for the solution to make sure that the solution maps requirements and is fully operational.
Yeah, in fact, we have been able to see with some customers that they sometimes try to go too quickly, let's say, in the implementation phase. They thought that it was possible to go directly, and sometimes they need to go a step back to refresh, in fact, what they clearly want and to define the key element or key path for the implementation of Nexo. And it's why it's a strong recommendation for this different phase. It's not mandatory to go or to spend too much time on each one. It could be sometimes very quick, but at least to have a clear understanding on what is the key aspect to be done. And then the implementation is going much more simple to be implemented. Yeah.
And we can also add that so from all along those different stages, Fime can support you through Fime Consulting with three different activities with Fime Consulting. starting with training to improve the knowledge of your teams. Fime has developed various training on several payment topics from, of course, on Nexo technology, but also going through EMV technology, mobile payment, or even 3DS. And those training are dedicated to both to any team, both management through introduction to Nexo ecosystem, for example, to technical teams as well, with some dedicated module on some protocols or specification from Nexo, for example. And then second activity is strategic consulting. We can help you. This strategic consulting will support you during the define and design stages to help you to define your opportunity and understand the potential business, to understand also the regulatory requirement and manage the business risk associated to that, and finally to define your business requirement. Finally, as technical advice, we will support you through the design and deliver stage to help you to design your solution, to design the specification, but also to help you with to design, to select the good test strategy according to your solution, and to develop test plan or digitalize your process. We can also support you through those technical advice to select the good supplier, so suppliers that will provide the best solution according to your need, and finally also support you in the project organization and project management for your Nexo solution.
And we will have some case studies at the end with some few customers. Claude talked about the tools and the testing solution. Can you also explain a bit more how we are managing these tools to help customers in the testing phases and certifications?
Yeah, so as introduced by Claude before, so for Nexo testing solution, Nexo standard contributed to develop two different test solution. One for acquire host. So this for acquire testing so targets an acquire host as a system under test, and it is tested through a POI simulator. And POI testing. So here the POI with Nexo Fast is the system under test and will be tested with the help of different simulators. So a TMS simulator, an acquire simulator, and POI test suite to simulate some cards. And those test tools are used by Fime Labs, receive the PCERT accreditation, and so Fime can deliver some Nexo testing services to bring his expertise for testing those Nexo solution.
Well, there is often a question regarding certification on Nexo. So we talked about fully recognition by CFCF, but what about the other schemes?
Yeah, so it's true that for the other scheme, we also recommend to go through Nexo IS functional testing, because the Nexo functional testing are bringing interoperability and quality assurance for any Nexo solution. We already what is important to notice is that Nexo IS, Nexo implementation specification v4, is currently the only specification version which is supported by the CFCF, and so the Nexo functional testing are bringing some validation aspects to the Nexo solution. And then from this validation phase, the customer could switch to the certification phase. So through CFCF for schemes like CB or GiroCard to have the solution approved, and the Nexo functional testing have to be added with end-to-end testing for other schemes like MasterCard, MTIP, or Visa EDVT for terminal, for example. And after this end-to-end testing, it allows to get the scheme approval for the solution.
Yes. The functional testing provide a very good quality insurance somewhere on the solution, and to reply to the main objective for harmonization and interoperability of the different solutions. It's allowed to avoid different type of implementation done on their side, which will be seen as totally independent and proprietary. Thanks to that, it's provide a good interoperabilities on all the different type of solutions deployed in the market.
Arnaud, if you allow me, I would add one thing. Nexo now is considering the level 3 EMV level 3 testing framework. I don't know if we could converge, but I think we could be complementary between what has been put in place on the MVCO level 3 testing. And the idea is to facilitate the certification at the end.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Sylvain.
Thank you.
I think it was clear on how it works regarding the project management and certification process. So now we can go through more concrete aspect maybe, and also to some few case study to share with you some return of experiences somewhere. So we would have been able to go in different details, and in that map you can see a lot of activities and requests coming from different parts of the world that we have received, and we will just focus on very few subjects to go quickly on some few things. The first case study was for a bank that manage POS terminal in their country, and also that is connected with processors, and their objective was to become multi-country, and so to deploy their services in other countries, but without to develop a new type of protocol and specification for each country. So they wanted to have something harmonized. Their main questions was clearly how they can go quickly and how they can save time and for which type of services. So they thought first to do everything at once, but it was seen as a huge amount of work in that case. And in fact, working with them, it was not so important to implement everything at once. So we defined with them what was the key elements and the key services to deploy first in the different other countries. And in their case, it was for the acquiring services first, and in the second step, to deploy POS terminal. So thanks to that, the team was very happy to find a good way, a good path, optimized path, with very quick step to have a quick return on investment and to start to be able to reply to several customer demands quickly and then to deploy their services. So we started by some trainings to the management and technical teams to better understand the different specificities for each aspect and clearly defining with them the main objective for their development. Another example is regarding a processor which is in the middle between merchants on one side, banks on the other side. In their case, it was becoming a nightmare to manage. On several merchant sides, there were several merchants implementing different type of payment services, payment solutions with different vendors and somehow some protocols and functionalities. And the other side, different banks chosen by the merchants, and their banks were present in different countries each time with different type of protocol. It was becoming a huge amount of cost for maintenances, for deployment, and so on, and based each time of proprietary protocol, or more or less proprietary protocol, based on ISO 8583 for most of them, but not only. And each time a need for a new type of certification for each type of implementations. So it was becoming very complex for them and very costly. Now they are using Nexo, and they are using Nexo as a by default standards for all their connections. So they ask to the vendors on the one side to implement Nexo or to be Nexo compliant, and they also ask to banks to be Nexo compliant. Thanks to that, they are saving a lot of cost. For that processor, they also mandate to new partners, for each new partner that they want to work with them, they say, okay, we can start to work, but first of all, you need to implement Nexo specification, Nexo protocol first, and then we will be able to work together. Thanks to that, they are not mandatory to implement specific solutions. So that is very, very good for them. And the third case, it's ready for the certification process to simplify, especially for this one for a bank, to simplify the certification process. And this is becoming, it's now on the shelf offer from Fime to have a single point of contact for the banks, to help the banks to manage all the different type of certification, scheme certifications. So for that, we provide support and functional testing, depending on what has been defined with the banks. So with a single point of contact, and we will manage also the coordination with the different actors, partners, certification body on behalf of the banks. So this is saving a lot of cost, lot of effort for the banks, because everything is done at once somewhere for all schemes. So this is something that is growing a lot, and we receive a lot of requests for this type of services now to simplify, and Nexo help a lot for that. So as a return of experience, so Nexo implementations, I think that now you have all see that Nexo implementation is successful, and there is more and more requests coming from everywhere in various parts of the world, everywhere over the world. And among of that is not just a technical approach, it's mostly a business one. We discussed during that webinar that some customers, they started first directly on the technical aspects, and then they forget some business requirement behind that. And we help them to take a step back, to better understand, and then to go and to save time in their implementation. So the Nexo is, in terms of value proposition, it's easy to be deployed, faster time to market, able to centralize card payment acceptance acquisition, reduce costs in terms of maintenance, in terms of new functionalities. We say that one application fits all, for instance, so it's not needed to deploy different type of applications. So it simplifies the terminal management, very flexible, very secure also, with some security embedded directly for that. And the benefits, it's for all payment actors, for all the actors of the payment chain, with vendors, with acquirers, merchants, and payment schemes. So they have all benefits to use it, replying to their own customer. So I will stop there. We are on time. Now the floor will be to you, to all of you, and to all that are participating to that webinar. So we will go to Slido environment to reply to your questions. And I'm sure that, we already have a lot of questions already there. So, excuse me. Yeah. So we will go to all the different questions. And the first question is for you, Claude. Can you provide more detail on the planning new technical working group for transit open payment? Claude? Okay.
I don't say thanks for the question, but we mass transit I think is more and more important in our life today. We know that in the world, there are different implementation of transit open payments by different schemes. And the idea was to see if it's possible to standardize that. We put in place a task force 18 months ago, but we didn't, and even today we don't have a lot of contributions. We are studying the different solutions existing with different implementation existing in the world. And we will try to see what's possible to do. And I think that maybe, before the end of this year, we'll be able to provide something, to deliver, if possible, data dictionary, data. We don't know exactly. We are searching seriously because more and more countries are interested in transit. We'll see. It's a need for the market, and as I said at the beginning, we have to answer to the needs of the market. But please don't forget, we are a standardization company. We are an association. We will deliver specifications, not products. Never forget that. We are not delivering softwares and other, only specifications.
Okay, clear. Another question would be, could it be possible to use only one nexo protocol, or all of them has to be implemented in payment solution? So we already have done some few responses on that. Nadine, do you want to add additional information?
The response answer is yes. It is possible to use one nexo part, protocol, or application, or whatever. But the only thing, if someone is looking for certification, so today the certification is enabled only if you use the package.
Yeah.
That is to say, TMS on Nexo Acquire, on Nexo AS.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We will stay with you. Is it possible to apply PY terminal proprietary method for firmware and or application update via Nexo TMS protocol? Nadine, is it possible to apply proprietary method?
Is it possible? I'm not sure to well understand. But in fact, I think the question is very large. It depends. I think that it is possible, but it depends what is behind the question. I'm not sure I cannot answer like this. I think it's this type of, this question has to be checked or to be analyzed case by case. I'm not. I don't have a one answer. It depends, in fact, what they look for, what they are looking for, and what they want to do.
Okay. I don't want to answer because Nadine was right and she answered very well. Nevertheless, we know that today some vendors are building, I would say, a platform, and I would say using Nexo, an agnostic platform in front of the vendors. I don't know if I am very clear, but the idea is using Android terminals. It's quite easy to imagine a unique platform for that. That's only a part of the answer, but could be interesting to know.
But indeed, it can be possible to add some specific needs, but it need to to go a bit more in details to better understand the needs and how to be managed. But yes, indeed, it can be possible, and we have been or we received a request for a specific TMS, and this was something that was needed for this specific TMS. Well, yeah, the CFCF website doesn't list any Nexo IS before certified solution for terminal standalone integrated. When do you expect this first certification to be open? I will just add first, if you allow me, it will be for you, Claude. First, that there is already Nexo, yes, Nexo V4 for iCreer. So iCreer version 6, it's already certified, which is part of the latest versions. And we have different certification in process. So because the system has been done very recently, so it has been able to start recently and is becoming to be certified in the coming weeks now. But Claude, do you want to add a few things?
No, I think we need the validation tool for that. So as you see, we have some early adopters on the POI side, and now they are starting their certifications. I would be just a little bit more prudent than Arnaud. We don't know exactly when this could end. It's totally in the hands of the implementers, but normally could take a couple of weeks. We'll see. And we do expect by the end of this year, we'll have several certifications.
So I confirm that we will have before end of the year, yes, because we are working on
the,
so
on the
yeah,
tool.
I can confirm, yes.
No, it's ongoing today.
Another question for you, I think it could be simple for this one. It's how to become a Nexo member.
Okay, interesting question. You please go to the website of Nexo. You will find an application form, and you see you could be a principal member, you could be an associate member, an observer member. You will see the difference, the rights of the different maybe level of or quality of members, and you submit this form to Nexo. It's very quick, very and I will be very happy to see more and more Nexo members.
Staying with
Thank
you
you for the question.
Stay with you, how we can use Nexo features in Saudi Arabia, since they are connected to Saudi payment and follow some aspects.
I know only a part of the answer because I am sure you know that Nexo is discussing with SAMA today. We have different meetings with SAMA, but for the time being, I think it's a discussion between you and SAMA or you and Nexo. It depends on the organization of the country. And I think SAMA, as far as I know, SAMA has a responsibility in your country to manage that. But we had different meetings with SAMA. And maybe Arnaud, you could answer.
Yeah, we know that there are discussion on using Nexo in Saudi Arabia. So this is in progress. I can't disclose anything right now because it's under NDA, of course, but there are discussion. So if you have any questions regarding Nexo to be used and specification, we are very pleased to and welcome to reply to your questions for Saudi Arabia. So we know very well Nexo in details, so we can help you to go much more in details on that type of question if you want. Will Fime Nexo certification be sufficient to handle card bancaire and zero card in France and Germany, respectively?
Hey, it's not a Fime certification. Eh?
No, exactly.
We could have some problem with the schemes. Eh?
Correct. That's true. It's not a Fime certification. You're right. Fime is using the tools and provide functional testing and then provide a report as a trusted partner to be then approved and validated by the correct certification authorities.
Yeah, if I could add something, Fime is a validated or qualified lab by the certification body.
Yeah.
And so this is why Fime has the right to go through the testing, and it's eligible. A testing report from Fime gives the solution the eligibility to go through CFCF certification.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is regulator adoption of Nexo required? Which key stakeholders needs to drive Nexo in a given market? Interesting question. Do you want to reply, to start to reply, Claude?
Regulator adoption nexo? I don't think so. I think it's on the other side. Nexo has to follow the regulations first. Second, please, could you disclose the question, the second
Yes,
part?
of course.
Which key stakeholder needs to drive Nexo in a given market? There are two different, from my side, there are two different answers. I think the merchants are really interested. On the other side, if we consider small or middle-sized companies, I think they don't really care about the solution. They are buying or leasing solutions in the market. So vendors could promote strongly their solution. And if they want to promote Nexo solutions, I think they are key driver for that. I could imagine that some big bank having a strong acquiring business is willing to implement Nexo acquire in each country. So de facto, this bank is a key stakeholder for Nexo. So we are also expecting that our members, our Nexo members, are promoting strongly a Nexo solution. Please don't forget that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe just to add also, Nexo is based on ISO 20022, which is clearly how the market is moving also. So we can see it also already on the financial point of view, but it's growing now on the card payment space as well. So it is more and more key in terms of ISO 20022. And you may have heard that in the European market, there is a new initiative called API. And we know that the purpose also on API is to rely on the ISO 20022. So in that case, maybe Nexo can also reply to, in the future, to that evolution and that demand is possible. But as you say, Nexo follow first the market needs, market demands, and how everything is moving. So why all the different participants and actors are present in Nexo organization. So we are running after time now. So we will not be able to reply to all the different other questions. So we will try to reply to these questions offline. So thank you to all for your participation. We hope that it was very useful and interesting for all of you. First of all, thank you to you, Claude, to attend this webinar. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you, Sylvain. And I wish to all of you a good day and keep safe.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.